Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. You can visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I was going to say for Twitter for now, depending on what happens there. That's neither here nor there. Just search for Holy BatCast, all those places. You'll find us. If you're a big fan of the show and you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as a big thank you from us to you guys who do support the show. You guys are amazing. You don't have to do it. You got other things going on in your life, so it does mean the world to us. It's November. It's thankful season. So, we've moved out of spooky season. We're in thankful season. I just want you all to know that I'm thankful for you guys, the patrons, and the ones who just support us regardless, but it really does mean a lot. So thank you for that. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so you can check out all those other shows. If you're looking to fill your time, avoid work, check those out at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Oh, and on Letterboxd. Forget about that. So this episode it's been a long time coming, but we're finally going to review DC League of Super Pets. Yay! Better late than never. I'm excited for it. Joining me for that is my good Bat pal. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
I'm excited to be here talking about the best Justice League movie I've seen this year. So.
That's fair. So I mean, I'll let you be Ace. If I can be Krypto and you can be Ace.
All right,
if that works for you.
I mean, The Rock and I have the same barber, but I'll take.
We can. I mean, we can swap. I'm happy to switch. You can be Krypto. I can be Ace.
I'm good either way. I want to be the tortoise.
Well, I mean, we'll get there, but that's not a bad choice either. So anyway, yeah, like I said, this is one we've been meaning to do. Honestly, I've been meaning to do it since I saw it in the theater. And then we waited. It was on HBO Max, and then we had plans to do it. And anyway, it doesn't matter. We're finally getting around to it.
This movie is kind of jinxed for us,
It has been, yeah. But again, much like the other animated films where we give it some time, I'm just going to say that. I'm saying we deliberately gave it time so everybody could catch up on it.
Yeah, we let it simmer.
We did. We wanted to make sure it was readily available so everybody could go see DC League of Super Pets so we could speak it in full detail and truly give it its due. So we are going to talk about that. Got to get a little business out of the way first. First thing is just because I mentioned it's November, and I want to put this out there right now is much like September just kind of disappeared. My November is looking very similar, where it's just going to be over before it begins. And so I don't know how many episodes I'm going to get out there in November. Because my wife is traveling and I am traveling, and then we're both traveling. And so between traveling and childcare, I'm going to try and get a few out. But if I don't, I haven't gone anywhere. We'll be back. Well, I have gone somewhere, but the show hasn't gone anywhere. It'll be back. But I just want to give a warning because the recording and the releasing of episodes for November is going to be irregular. I just wanted to let everyone know.
Life gets in the way.
It sure does. We were talking about it this morning. We're starting an hour late because my baby is so inconsiderate and she woke up early.
Well, and the daylight savings thing has her messed up like it does me. So
I think so, but I thought we had an arrangement. I made a deal with her last night. I was like, okay, now just sleep until this time so Daddy can record a podcast. And she seemed to agree. And then this morning, it all went out the window.
You can't trust kids, man. They're liars.
Yeah, she is. She's a liar. Thank God she's cute.
It has that going for her.
Yeah, that's true. So anyway, again, November, it's going to be a little erratic, but hang in there, guys. We'll get out what I can. And then the other thing is that I, of course, got to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped. I guess Fresh Ball Fall is continuing, but we're getting awfully close to, I don't know, holiday. I don't even.
Jingle Ball?
Sure. Yeah, there you go. I'll do that. That works for me. It'll be time for the Jingle Ball Rock. But for now, we're wrapping up Fresh Ball Fall, so go check out our pals over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com for all your grooming needs. And if you're going to buy something, make sure you use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. Manscaped has anything you need. They've got trimmers, both for your face and your bathing suit parts and your nose hair and your ear hair. And they've got deodorant and they've got shampoo, conditioner, and they've got body wash and anything you can need to make sure that you look nice and you smell nice. And we certainly appreciate everybody out there who has already checked out Manscaped. Hope you guys have been happy with what you purchased. And if you're still thinking about it, gift giving season is coming. And so now's the time to start looking, either ask for it from friends or family, but just make sure they use the promo code BATSCAPED. Or if you're going to buy it for someone else, save 20% off while you can. Get that free shipping, BATSCAPED. Buy something for the man in your life. Make sure that they are also all trimmed up and taking care of everything, taking care of business. So Manscaped, the products are great. And you get a great deal with the BATSCAPED promo code. So please, if you're going to bike a purchase, use the promo code, get 20% off, free shipping, and do something a little nice for you or for another man in your life by doing some shopping at manscaped.com.
You know, since I started using this stuff, I don't think a single week has gone by since my wife hasn't commented about how good I smell. So if that's not the best endorsement I can give this product or these products, I don't know what is.
What more is there, right?
That's why we do it, right?
That's why we do it. It's true. So very cool. And I'm sure that they have great little combo packs that you can get for the holidays coming up.
They have a new fragrance or cologne.
I
there.
saw
I'm looking
that.
forward to trying that.
I saw that. I need to get it. I already like the Manscaped smell we've talked about in the past. So I'm already happy with that. But branching out on new scents, I'm down with that. Hopefully it'll be good.
Indeed.
But I can't swear by it yet because I haven't gotten it yet. So I haven't tried it. So I'm nothing if not honest with y'all. But anyway, there you go. Manscaped, we do appreciate their continued support of Holy BatCast, and I appreciate your guys' support. And so if you can also support Manscaped, that'd be great. If you don't, guess what? I'll never know. That's fine. But we appreciate it regardless. Anyway, it is time to spend some time with some pets. So here we go. It's a couple months late, but it is finally time to take a look at DC League of Super Pets. Find the release date. I want to say it was July. I liked when IMDb used to put it at the top of the page. Now I got to dig for it.
July 29th.
That sounds right. July 29th, DC League of Super Pets was released. A heck of a voice cast here. First of all, this was written and directed by Jared Stern, co-directed by Sam Levine. And I just want to mention now, Jared Stern, he has some animation pedigree. He did a lot of story work on some Disney movies, like Wreck-It Ralph and Princess and the Frog and stuff. But he also wrote the Lego Batman movie and worked on the Lego animated movies, including the Lego movie. So he has had a lot of animation pedigree anyway, and he was able to co-write and co-direct this. We do have Dwayne Johnson, who's all in on the DC Universe as Krypto, Kevin Hart as Ace, Kate McKinnon as Lulu, who is our villain, the bald guinea pig. John Krasinski is Superman. Vanessa Bayer is PB the pig, the pot-bellied pig. Natasha Lyonne is Merton, the turtle, which you already mentioned. Diego Luna was Chip the squirrel. Mark Maron is Lex Luthor. Keanu Reeves, beloved, is Batman. Thomas Middleditch and Ben Schwartz are Keith and Mark. Olivia Wilde is Lois Lane. Jermaine Clement is Aquaman. Jamila Jamil is Wonder Woman. I mean, a heck of a cast all in. And so we'll start spoiler free. I did see this in the theater, and then I watched it again yesterday on HBO Max. So for those of you who haven't purchased it yet, it is on HBO Max for your viewing pleasure. Easy enough to watch. I will say, though, last night when I went to watch it, it wasn't on the homepage anymore. And I had that moment of like, oh no, did I miss it? Do I have to buy it now? And which I would, spoilers, I'd be fine buying it. But I was like,
it is on sale for $12.99 right now.
I know. And I had that internal debate of like, do I just buy it for $12.99 or do I watch it on HBO Max and wait for it to go on sale even cheaper in the next year? I opted for the
I'm kind of waiting for $9.99 myself.
Exactly. That's kind of my agreed. That's my threshold, $9.99, especially for digital.
We're
So yeah,
old
you're
and
right.
cheap.
It is on sale for $12.99, and I was tempted, but it is funny to me being like $9.99. I would do it. $12.99. I won't. That $3 makes all the difference.
Yep.
So anyway, yes, it's readily available now. We have seen it. We will start spoiler free. We will give a spoiler warning. I mean, it's DC League of Super Pets. They don't murder any of the characters. I'll tell you that, so you don't have to worry about those kind of spoilers. But anyway, spoiler free, Jamie. This is the second time I made you watch it because we were supposed to do this a few weeks ago, and I ran out of time. So anyway, spoiler free thoughts on DC League of Super Pets.
Well, I'm going to just start off just right from this position and say I didn't mind watching it a second time because I really liked it the first time and I really liked it the second time too. They
That's good.
they set out to make that kind of all ages entertainment, which we constantly clamor that you need to have each bracket represented to maximize your returns and get people interested in these characters at a younger age. And I say mission accomplished. I think they did a very nice job making a family oriented film with some nice Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the film and some very interesting takes on characters. The Justice League is actually involved, not just the pets, but the actual, quote, human Justice League is involved. And I think they use that just to the right amount because you can be tempted to overuse those characters where they get to the point where they overshadow the pets, who of course are supposed to be the focus of this film. And I think they found a great balance with how much they blended the human and animal characters together here. And I think they did a wonderful in that position. I think the voice cast was pretty much excellent all around. There's some genuinely funny moments going on throughout the film. There's some nice heartfelt moments. There was one point where both times I almost teared up watching it, which we'll get to. Uh, but no, overall, I think they did a very nice job. And, I'd certainly welcome more from the perspective of this particular corner of the DC universe.
I think we saw the same movie,
Cool.
which is always a good start. When I walked out of the theater, and this was one I took a special theater trip to see it because I wanted to support it, and it actually did look pretty good. But there was only one word that was in my mind as I walked out of the theater, and that was cute. I feel like that's the best way to describe it. It's just a cute movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It's super easy to watch. I mean, I don't want to oversell it because it's not like the greatest thing ever. It's not going to change your life, like
No.
it's not, but it's just really cute and entertaining and easy to watch and fun. And it's set in the DC universe. So I was very entertained throughout it. I was entertained watching it again last night. I will say this, and I don't know if you found this to be true. I think I liked it a little more the second time, which is
I
good.
think I did too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you why once we get into spoilers. But yeah, like it's the animation I think is very well done. I really like the design work on almost everyone. Um, like I think that the animation itself is very good of both the pets and of the Justice League and of the entire universe. So I think that that's very nice. I appreciate that there is humor in here for everyone because it doesn't all work for me. Some of it is obviously aimed at little kids, and you kind of just have to go, okay, whatever. Like, so there's some jokes that don't work for me, but then there was some stuff that I found surprisingly funny and surprisingly dry or surprisingly clever that I was like, okay, that's just there to entertain the parents because the kids aren't going to get that, but it's pretty darn funny. So I appreciated how funny it was where the whole thing wasn't just trying to talk down to kids. Even though, like I said, there's a little bit of that sprinkled throughout, but not nearly as much as you would expect. And I appreciated that. Like the way they did the superpowers was really cool. And as you said, it has a lot of heart, like, not an insane amount. I wouldn't go so far as to say I was crying or weeping, but there's some very sweet moments. And I think that it's a very nice movie that really, it speaks to the love that we have for our pets and the love they have back. But then even on a bigger scale, just talks about like what it means to love a friend or a best friend. And that unconditional love is no matter what, you want what's best for them. And I thought that was very well done and sweet too. So it's a very cute and entertaining movie. And that's why I just keep coming back to cute. because that's what, and it sounds almost diminishing, but I don't mean it that way. But I'm just like, no, it's cute.
No,
Um,
that's apt, and that's I think that's really what they were going for.
Yeah, and I do think that people came out going, "Oh my god, it's surprisingly great," and I'm not there, but I think that that's because their expectations were so low that then when it wasn't crap, they were like, "Oh wow, it's good," and it is. It's a good animated movie, and I agree with you. Like, I don't think we'll see more of them. Unfortunately, we can talk about box office in a minute, which the box office was not bad, but not amazing. Um, so I don't necessarily think we'll get more of them, but I would love more of them because I love the characters. Again, I love the animation. I love where they leave this movie for further adventures, and I would happily see more adventures of the Super Pets. I just don't know if that's in the cards at this point.
Yeah, and it could be one of those things that maybe a couple of years down the road they try to do some kind of possibly an animated series with obviously a totally different voice cast or something like that, and that would be fine. But I think part of the magic is having the ensemble that they did doing this. I mean, they brought some weight's probably not quite the right word to use for it, but they were very enjoyable. They all did their jobs very well. Even people that I'm not generally a great big fan of, Kate McKinnon, I think did a very nice job here. I know you're going to hang up on me for saying that because you love Kate McKinnon, and I do not.
I'm a I'm a little shocked. I feel like
But
I should have known that, but I don't remember knowing that.
no, I don't dislike her. She doesn't really do a lot for me in anything I've seen her in, and I've only seen like a couple of Saturday Night Live bits with her. Of course, I've seen the Ghostbusters movie from 2016, which I still really enjoy, and
I do too.
you know,
And I
you
think
know,
she's the MVP of that movie, but
I don't know that
um
I'd go that far, but yeah, it's Kevin Hart is really hit and miss with me. Like Kevin Hart, usually in small doses for me, works really well. But if it's something that centers on Kevin Hart, sometimes I can just kind of drift away from it pretty easily because he just wears thin on me after a while. But I think he did a wonderful job as Ace.
mhm.
The Rock. I mean, we all love The Rock, right? Is there anybody that doesn't love The Rock? And if they don't, then I don't want to know them. But he was great as Krypto. Krasinski's Superman was great. I mean, everybody was just, I think, on point and doing their job to the very best. And I think that's part of what makes this film work as well as it does for me.
No, I will agree with that. I mean, and the cast it's eclectic, certainly, with like Natasha Lyonne and Diego Luna. These are not names you would expect, or Mark Maron as Lex Luthor. But I do think that the variety in the cast adds a lot. And I think that that really works for the characters because the characters are all very distinct and they're very different. And I think that's what you get in the best animated films. Look about, I don't remember where you stand on this, but Toy Story. Like, I think part of the reason that Toy Story is so beloved and it's just continued to go on and on is because just the variety of characters, they're all so different, they're all so distinct, but that mixture of personalities makes for something really fun to watch. And I think that's true here. Is I think it would have been very easy to fall into the trap is like they're all trying to one up each other and they don't go that way. Like PB is just this very earnest and sweet and positive character, whereas Ace is a little more world wearied and a little more down, and like all the personalities are very distinct. Chip, he's overanalyzes, he gets in his own head. So I do think that they do a nice job of having distinct personalities for all the pets that make them all very fun to watch in their own way, without it feeling like too much or obnoxious.
Hey, for the record, I really like all three Toy Story movies.
Okay, good.
I said what I said.
I
Uh,
I, I heard what you said.
And we talked a few weeks back about Bat Wheels and how much we love that and how that was targeted at a specific age demographic. I really think like this one might be that next step past it. Just if that age bracket was gunning for that 4 to 6 or 7 range, maybe this one's gunning more for that 8 to 10ish range. But
Yeah.
I think either audience can enjoy either one just as well. But
I
there
agree.
was
Yeah.
there was definitely more of what you talked about with the winks and nudges toward the grown crowd, or even the DC fan with little Easter eggs sprinkled around. Like I got a chuckle out of Jonah Hex's Steakhouse.
Yeah.
Just no 6-year-old kid is likely to catch that Easter egg. So that's definitely thrown in there for the likes of us. And I just thought it was a nice touch, not overdone in any way. Most of it's just kind of background stuff, but well handled.
I agree. I thought that was really fun, especially as a DC fan. I mean, that's part of the reason that we're watching this is it's nice that throughout the course of the movie, I think we do fall in love with the super pets themselves, but our entry point is, oh, it's a DC movie. And so I think that Jared Stern and the team, they are also big DC fans. Cause like you said, there are Easter eggs scattered throughout. They're probably missed by most people, and that's fine. That's why they're Easter eggs. But you're right, for DC nerds like us, you see something like the Jonah Hex signage and you go, oh, that's how fun is that? And there's a lot of that throughout, but it's never distracting, and it's tends to stay in the background, which I think is a delicate balance.
And that's how things like that, in my opinion, should be handled. You know,
Yeah,
if you're flashing it right up in the audience's face, like, "Hey, look at what we did," it's not doing what it's intended to do, in my opinion. So
agreed. Like, yeah, where you the movie comes to a screeching halt, so they can point something out and wink at the camera.
yeah,
Um,
it's the visual equivalent of over explaining a joke. You know, if you have to explain it, it's not funny anymore. So
right. I will say you mentioned her. I mean, yes, I love her, but Kate McKinnon, I think is one of. I mean, I think everyone's great in this, but I really loved her as Lulu, and I do think that it's because of like the way she talks, and I'm sure a lot of it was improv and stuff, but like that's where I think a lot of that. I don't want to call it adult humor because it's not inappropriate, but it's like it's a much drier humor, but it's really funny.
mhm.
Um, so I feel like I probably got the most laughs from her, but maybe tied with Merton the turtle,
Yeah.
who cracked me up. So again, I think that allowing some of these really funny performers like Kate McKinnon to just do their thing, um, but keeping it like reined in where it doesn't just become stream of consciousness or everything is I thought was really smart, and I think that it really pays off.
You know what the actual funniest thing to me about Lulu is that she was Lex's pet and she's hairless.
Yes.
For some
Yeah.
reason, I find that utterly hysterical.
Yep. The fact that she is a bald guinea pig and is therefore the Lex Luthor pet is pretty great. Um, I've got to mention this just because it was something that I saw some discourse about online, and I understand it. Is I would have liked more Batman, as always, because I'll always take more Batman. This is a Batman show, damn it, and I want more Batman. But anyway, I really liked Batman in this. Keanu Reeves doing the voice of Batman, I think, is a stroke of genius. I think he's great in it.
And
Um,
you can tell he's having a great time with it too.
oh,
That's what I love about it.
and that's just it. And again, like not only would I like more of the Super Pets, I would love more of this version of the Justice League. I really liked this version of the Justice League. I appreciated how the designs, especially Wonder Woman and Aquaman, how they have like they're close enough to their live action counterparts with but also it's almost like one foot in the movies, one foot in the comics, and they found kind of a nice middle ground for both. So that way you could go, oh yeah, this is the same Aquaman as Momoa. He's a little sillier, he's animated, but like it's him. And the same thing with Wonder Woman and Gal. I thought was really smart to find a nice balance. um but anyway, I would love to see more of them just in general. But Batman, back to Batman. I like that they like save the reveal for Batman for sort of like this nice finale of the Justice League intros. Um, but the design of Batman, how he looks, I'm curious as to your thoughts because I saw some discourse about this, and a lot of people were not into his design.
I didn't mind it. I mean, am I ever going to prefer that over a half a dozen other versions of Batman? No, probably not. But for what they're doing here, they don't want all black armored, scary, serious Batman. I mean, they're kind of taking the piss out of that version of Batman with this one, and I appreciate that because I think we need to pump the brakes on that version at this point anyway. But I think it works perfectly fine for what they're attempting to do here, and I have no problem with it. I'm not going to hang a poster of it up on my wall or get a tattoo over it or anything, but I think it works just fine.
Yeah. When I first saw the picture of him, I didn't love it. I'll be honest. I was like, ugh. And for me, it's not the colors or anything. It's really just the shape of his head into his shoulders, how he has like no neck. I just feel like his head and neck and his head and shoulders look just a little weird, and disproportionate. Whereas like Superman looks amazing, right? And most of the Justice League looks amazing. But for Batman, I was a little disappointed. And then in the movie, when you see more of him and you see him moving, I'm fine with it. He's fine, right? He looks okay.
Yeah.
So I do think it was sort of much ado about nothing, because I think for this world, this Justice League, I think he looks good enough. Like you said, I'm not racing to buy an action figure of him or put him on the wall, but he looks fine. But I will say, I prefer his design in Bat Wheels to this. I think he looks better in that than he does in this.
Yeah, I wouldn't contest that. I wouldn't say it's right or wrong. I just, again, for the world they're presenting here, for the type of characters they're presenting here, things are a little bit more on the exaggerated side, and we are leaning kid friendly. So Batman can look a little sillier, maybe is or isn't the right word to use. I don't know. I think it's perfectly fine for what they were doing.
I mean, it's cartoonier, let's say, more than
Yeah.
sillier. But yeah, like I do think it's just the proportions are cartoonier. I will say that just overall, again, I really like the design aesthetic, especially of, I think Krypto and Superman both look amazing. I think they look as good as you would ever want them to look in animation. Once Ace finally puts on the cowl, which is one of my nitpicks, he looks great too. So I think it is almost like the DC universe through the design lens of the Incredibles.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like it feels sort of that same world. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I do think, especially even like just the pedestrians walking through Metropolis, you look at them and you go, oh, they kind of look like extras from the Incredibles too. So I do wonder if they use that as inspiration.
I mean, if you're going to swipe from the best, right? Yeah.
I mean, and it makes sense, right? It's a template that does make sense. But again, overall, I thought the design of the Justice League in general was really, really strong. Ironically, the only one I didn't completely love was Batman, which is a shame. But I think that Keanu's performance, and then again, once you see him throughout the film, you get used to it, and it works out just fine. So,
well, there is one problem I have in that front, and that's that I think Wonder Woman's boots are a little much.
they're a bit much. I appreciated that. All right, well, let's get over the spoiler wall just so we can speak freely. We already kind of are, but again, there's not a lot to spoil. If you've seen the trailer, you know how it goes. There's a group of shelter animals. They get bombarded with orange kryptonite. They all get superpowers, and Krypto enlists them to help save the Justice League. I don't think that's a spoiler, but just in case.
Before we even get over the wall, I'll even throw this much out, because I like to give DC their proper acknowledgement on this front, because I think they do as good or better job than anybody out there. And that's, so much representation can be found through here, and some of it subtle, some of it not as subtle, but sexual persuasion, race, size, any of that stuff. I think they do a very nice job of blending that all in without being like a beat over the head kind of get a point across thing. I just think they're normalizing so much of that. And, credit to anybody involved in DC and the comics, movies, animation, any of that, for getting that job done in a very well done fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you see adjustments to that effect throughout. Like, again, like Wonder Woman, she has a darker complexion than she traditionally does, and that's, I think, because we now have Gal Gadot playing her in live action, so you get a little bit of that. Aquaman, like same thing there. You see more of the ethnicity there. And I did see a little when this was coming out about using Jessica Cruz as Green Lantern, but I thought that made a lot of sense. I think that the Justice League has always had a problem, and it's honestly, the Avengers have the same problem. Not enough women. And because of that, they have to adjust accordingly. That's the only reason Hawkgirl was in the animated series, is because they're like, we need another female. Who can we use? And then it became Hawkgirl, and I think it was a great decision. So I also understand, well, Green Lanterns, there are so many of them anyway. We need another woman on the team, and Jessica Cruz is a great choice. So I thought that was actually really smart.
And the fact that they decided to make her a little on the, I mean, no disrespect whatsoever by phrasing it this way, so don't take it that way, a little on the thicker side.
Yeah, I
was cool with that. It's
I agree.
People like me need representation too, y'all.
So no, I agree with you. I do think they made the right adjustments in the right places where it makes sense. And it's never distracting, but it does feel more natural. And I like that about it. And same thing, there's a moment early on where there's a same-sex couple and it's just very organic. Like it's talked about just the same way you would talk about any couple, which is honestly the way it should be, where he's just like, oh yeah,
Again,
like,
it's normalized. It's not trying to
yeah,
beat a message across. It's just saying, hey, these are people too, just like you and me. And again, I think DC does a fantastic job of that pretty much on every front right now.
yeah, for
Not
sure.
not that reading the comments section of any post and what people think about that would give any indication that that's what people want, but I'll give them props for it.
Yeah. So anyway, I agree with you on that. I do think that that was done very well throughout the film. But let's get over the spoiler wall so we can speak freely. So if you haven't seen DC League of Super Pets, give it a watch. It's a lot of fun, especially if you have kids. Watch it with the kids. I can't imagine the kids not liking it. Esri laughed many times throughout, and she watched the whole darn thing even after her mom went to bed. So Esri's my niece. I forgot if I said that, but yeah, I watched it with my niece Esri, and my sister went to bed, but Esri watched it all the way to the end with me. So she had a good time with it. She's 10. So if you've got kids, watch it with them. And if you don't have kids, you can watch it by yourself. I won't tell. Because I think you'll have a good time regardless. I think they found a nice balance of it's very kid friendly, it's very easy on the eyes, but it's also like not annoying for grown-ups, which I do think for animated films some of them can be. This one I don't think is. I think they found a nice balance of having something for everyone. But anyway, we're going to speak about spoilers now. So spoiler warning is in effect in 3, 2, 1.
So I guess I'll start here, and I don't even know that this would necessarily be a spoiler. I don't think it really is, but I was semi-intimidated by the runtime of the film. And it's not because an hour and 45 minutes is too long for me to sit and watch a film, but with kids' films, sometimes that means they're pushing a little bit too much and they don't fill the time. You know what I mean? They just generally that 90-ish minute mark is pretty much where you want to stick with this sort of thing. So when I saw this was an hour and 45, I was like, oh, I hope there's not points where it drags or anything like that. And for the most part, I don't think it does, but I do think probably 5 to 10 minutes could have been shaved off of this thing and still made the same movie just as effective.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Actually, I was wondering where you were going, but I agree. It goes a little long. It's fine. Like I'm never like, oh my god, wrap it up.
Doesn't
Like it's
overstay
never that.
its welcome.
Yeah.
It feels like it gets to be a little. I think some things drag's not the right word. Some things carry on longer than they need to, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with that because and maybe that was just because of my mindset because I was watching it before bed, so I knew that at the end I'd get to go to sleep, and so that under that circumstance, you're like, all right, let's wrap it up. But it's never boring. I never feel like it's like you said, it doesn't totally overstay its welcome where you get annoyed with it. But I do think that yes, it could have been a little tighter, but that's a minor nitpick, all things considered, because you're right. 90-minute tends to be the sweet spot for movies like this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I will agree with that. Let me get my biggest nitpick out of the way. And this is one that it bugged me more the first time than the second time. And I think that is just the managing of expectations is the super pets don't become the super pets until the final montage before the credits. And I just wish it had happened a little earlier. I wish it had happened prior to the final battle. So the first time I was like, really? Like this is it's a 90-minute pilot because they don't even meet the Justice League until the very end. And they certainly don't become partners with the Justice League until the very end, with the exception of Krypto. So I wish that had happened earlier. Because now that's the coda they leave you on is, oh, now they're all teamed up. But now we probably won't see anything past that, which is a shame. So that is one of my things where I'm like, I wish it wasn't I wish the whole movie wasn't them like leading to that moment. I wish that had happened at the end of Act 2. So that way Act 3, you could have had them all together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say that.
I guess where I'm at with it, and again, I think they did a good job with how they handled and presented everything. I mean, it's your origin story and what have you. I think for me, and again, I'm no writer, my preference would have almost been to have them already be established as the pets of the Justice League and maybe make this like Ace's origin story and how he became Batman's pet at
Yeah.
the end. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like have the pig already established with Wonder Woman, the squirrel with Green Lantern, the turtle with Flash, of course, Krypto. I mean, I think that would have gone a long way to alleviating what you're talking about there. But at the same time, that gives you less opportunity to really get to know each of the pet characters.
Yeah.
So they made a choice. I mean, it's probably not the choice I would have made. Clearly, it's not the choice you would have made, but I don't know. I think that's where I'm at with it. Making it one character's origin story versus everybody's, or give a brief minute or two flashback of how each one came into service with their Justice League companion, whatnot. I think that might have been the route I would have chosen to go just because of what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's actually a great call. It makes a lot of sense. And again, instead of by making it the pets, they have powers, but they don't really become the super pets until the very end of the film. Because of that, it almost, in some ways, it almost feels like it's just a talking animal movie that happens to be set in the DC universe, as opposed to like truly embracing the title, which is League of Super Pets. So again, like it bothered me less the second time because I already knew about it, but the first time I was like, oh wow, like so Ace like isn't even going to meet Batman like until the end of the movie. And like I said, Ace looks great in his cowl, but he only wears it during the very end and I'm not even the end climax of the movie, but like the epilogue. He only wears it in the epilogue for what, 30 seconds. That's it.
Yeah. And he looks great too, by the way.
It does, exactly. He totally looks great. So anyway, I want to get that out of the way because that was my big complaint where I was like, oh, come on, guys, like make this happen earlier. And there's a moment where they even tease you that that's where it might be going. It's when they all end up at the Hall of Justice. And I do love that there is a Hall of Justice. I love that they end up there. I think it's a fun design for the Hall of Justice that's unique to this world. So I really appreciated that. But there's a moment where they're like, oh, we're not good with our powers, but that's normal. That happens until we get our training montage. And the final countdown plays, which I gotta love that. And I was like, okay, like cool. But instead they just played it as a joke of like, oh no, we're not actually going to get good. We just wanted to joke about the standard training montage. And I was like,
I do think that was one of the few humor missteps in the film, was that one.
Yeah, because I get it. Because yes, it's a cliche, but also I'm like, no, I think I'd rather if you just did the training montage instead of making fun of it.
Even if they just did it, and then I think I don't remember. I think it was Krypto that made the comment of they need a longer montage or something.
Yeah,
even if they would have just picked it up from there and did the real montage that did make them more established in that moment,
right.
I think it would have been fine. But I think that was a little bit of a miss, in my opinion. I think that could have definitely been handled better in several other ways than what they did. So I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way. I wanted to go to the beginning though, because I do think that the opening scene is amazing.
The fact that Krypto is responsible for the origin of the spit curl, I think, was a stroke of brilliance.
And just him being present for when Clark is sent off from Krypton, I thought that whole sequence was really well done. It's a sequence we have seen on film many times, but never quite this way. And I thought by adding Krypto to the equation, it was really sweet. And when that opening happened, I was like, oh wow, like this is really sweet. This feels so DC. This feels so Superman. I'm sure there are people who are mad at it, but I love that they used the Krypton music from John Williams. That's one of my favorite pieces of music from that score. The Planet Krypton. Like I love that piece. And so using that, I don't know, I thought that opening was really well done.
I fully agree. And the parents, Jor-El and the mother, were Lara.
Yeah.
They were somebody. Let me look at
the Jor-El was Alfred Molina.
Yes. And Lena Headey was Lara.
Oh, okay, cool.
Big fan of both of those. So
yeah. So no, I think that was really great. And again, the whole sweet thing of like, let's add, how does Krypto change this equation? And then when he jumps in the pod with Clark and they're like, well, he's going to need someone to look after him. And so then Krypto just becomes this protector. I thought it was a really nice spin on something we have seen a lot of times.
Agreed. And, I know you're not a dog person, I am, but when a young child forms that bond, I don't know how it is with cats because I was never a young child that had cats. We were always dog people. when a young child forms that bond at the very, very early age with that dog, it's truly the definition of a lifelong friendship. And the
Oh
way that
yeah.
that was presented was perfect. I really think that's how it would go. That kid had nobody but the dog, and they bonded, and here they are today, the best of friends and colleagues and teammates. And I think that just played beautifully. Even the little montage you get toward the beginning of Krypto and Superman working together to take down like Brainiac, or another stroke of brilliance I thought was the elevated train track going out and
Yeah.
Superman doing the thing from the movie where he lays down to let the train pass over him, but then another piece of the track falls down and the people on the train freak out again, and then here comes Krypto to extend that person track out. I think that was just a great moment in the film. Actually, one of my favorite moments in the film was that.
Oh yeah, that whole opening montage to "You're My Best Friend" from Queen was brilliant and sweet and cute and, like, again, amusing without like trying to just overdo it with jokes, which I really liked. No, I thought that was a great intro to the movie, aside from the prologue of just showing the day to day of Superman and Krypto and their relationship and their friendship. I thought it was awesome.
Sure. And Queen makes everything better. We know that.
Obviously. And in my defense, as a kid, I had dogs.
Oh, did you? I didn't
I
know that.
did. I did. I had dogs, I had cats, I had fish, I had birds, I had hamsters, I had lizards. Pretty much if you name
Damn, dude, you
any
were living
pet.
in Mutual of Omaha's out there, weren't you?
Oh yeah, like me and my siblings, we had at one point or another we had every pet you could imagine. Turtles, we had turtles, we had everything.
None of you
Um
sickos had a spider, did you?
no,
Okay, you can
no,
stay.
never did the spider. So anyway, it's not that I don't like dogs. As a kid, I had dogs. I loved my dogs. But as a kid, I had three siblings, right? Somehow, when we had a dog, the only one who took care of the dog was me. I was the one who had to take him on walks. I was the one who had to clean up his poop. I was the only one who did the work for the dogs, while my siblings just enjoyed having a dog.
Dogs are higher maintenance than most other pets. That is
So
true.
I think that's part of why, as an adult, I'm like, I don't need the maintenance. Like it's nothing against dogs because they are sweet and they are lovable. And if I were to come over and meet your dog, I would love up on him. I just don't need one of my own. So
My wife.
I want to be clear about that. Like, I don't hate dogs. I just growing up, I always had to do all the work, and so as a grown up, I'm like, I'm good.
I get it. I totally understand. My wife equates my love for dogs in that I'm like a dog. I'm needy. I constantly want attention. Always wanting to play around, all this other shit. But in her case, she's more like a cat. She doesn't need anybody around. She's just very leave me alone. I'm fine by myself. And then she'll show up for like 5 minutes once a day and it's like, hey, scratch me right here, and that's cool. Now I'm going away again. So
Yeah, fair enough. And people now that we have Harley, people go, "Oh, are you guys gonna get a pet?" And I'm like, "No,
the kid's
I,
enough to take
I,
care of.
I have a baby. That's enough." Like, I'm like, when Harley gets old enough, if she wants a pet, we'll have that conversation. But I see no reason to bring one in now when she is 8 months old. Like, she's she she's plenty of work for us right now. We don't need to add another one to it. So anyway, I just want to be clear. Like, I don't dislike pets. I actually like them quite a bit. It's just I feel like I got my fill as a
I,
kid.
I had a shiver shoot up my spine thinking about taking care of a puppy and an 8-month old at the same time. No
Yeah.
bueno.
Yeah. So that's why I'm like, when she gets old enough, depending, we'll see what she wants. But for now, like, I don't need one. Um, so anyway, all that is to say, I understand the bond between animal and person, whether it be baby, kid, or adult. I still miss my cat. He just like a dog, he loved unconditionally, and I certainly miss him. So it doesn't have to be a dog, just pets in general, that bonds, that relationship, and how special they are. These, innocent little souls. Yeah, there's something special about that. And I think that that's something the movie does really well to celebrate, is just how loyal our pets are to us. And what that love means. So I think that's actually really sweet about the movie.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how you can clearly see this was done by fans of the DC universe, and it's also clearly done by animal lovers because they get those points home in a very strong way in many parts of the film. So
For sure. Absolutely. Um, And I appreciate that, you know, the shelter animal aspect. I think that's really sweet and that's well done too. Uh, you know, the movie might be a little anti-cat because it's like they're all jealous of the kitty.
Well, you see, now there's where you and I are going to differ on this. Is the one thing that I think this movie gets right above all else is acknowledging that cats are inherently all evil.
No, no. I will say that, and I don't get I completely appreciate and understand like it's an animated movie. I'm not going to take it that seriously. I really am not. Recently on Disorder, we talked about Frankenweenie, and Hunter like couldn't get over the fact of like how that movie treated the cat. And I'm like, it's a movie, like it's an animated movie. Like they're not saying this about all cats. Like anyway, but like it's like I can like separate it. It's a movie. Um, and so for this, like, yeah, it is interesting that like in the League of Super Pets, there is not a cat. And then the only cat that you get is the one who gets adopted in, you know, instead of all of them, and then comes back at the end, Whiskers, and is sort of like this killer cat. But I actually love that sequence.
Oh,
I
it was
think it's I
hilarious.
think it's so funny because he's still so cute. Like they don't make him like a mean monster cat. They keep him super cute and super sweet. And so him threatening to destroy the super pets while just being cute as could be, I thought was actually really hilarious.
When he says "see you in heck" in that voice, God, I lost it. That was hilarious.
Exactly. Like when he said "see you in heck" and he throws like the hairball grenade, I laughed my butt off. Esri did not, and I was like, I feel like the kids might not quite understand how funny that is.
Yeah, give her a couple of years.
Exactly, but yeah, like it was really funny. Or he even does like 1, 2 whiskers coming for you.
No, that the whole sequence with the cat I thought was wonderful. And I'm not a big cat person. I live with three of them, but they belong to everybody else in the house, not to me. I'm the dog person. So,
Well, I mean,
but
you can have both. It's all
yeah,
good.
yeah, they can coexist. At least the dogs coexist with the cats fine. Two of the cats coexist with the dog fine. But there's that one cat that never comes downstairs until the dogs are in the cage. So,
Well, I mean, I get that. Dogs are big and they're, you know, I'm sure they're scary for cats.
well, to be fair, that cat hates most people too. So,
But anyway, yeah, I thought the whole cat bit was actually really funny. Whiskers, and even just like the way they gave Whiskers weird powers, like his tail becomes like a rocket launcher and a machine gun, and I'm like, it was actually really imaginative and fun. I thought it was cool.
yeah.
Um,
Speaking of bits that they put in the film that had me cracking up both times actually was the quick snippet of Lois doing the news broadcast after Lex is arrested and it says wealthy person actually goes to jail.
oh, nice. I missed
That
that.
was great.
Yeah. Did you hear her though give a name drop to Mixel Spitlick?
No.
Yeah, it's at the very beginning of the movie is when she's doing her broadcast, and it's right before Superman comes up and finds her. Um, and she's like, yes, and you know, Mixel Spitlick is sent back to his dimension. Turns out all he had to do was say his name backwards.
I don't know
So
how I missed that, but
I
I
mean
did.
it's pretty subtle again to the point of like it's a nice little Easter egg, but it's not, you know, calling too much attention to itself.
Hmm. Guess I have to watch it a third time.
I had to mention the other thing that made me laugh every time is Mervin the turtle. And I like that Mervin just swears. It's so stupid, but it's so funny. Or Merton,
Okay.
not Mervin, Merton. Um,
That was one of my aggravating things about this is that
oh,
they felt compelled to use the beeps, but then there's a point where the Lulu is like, I think she's going off on Superman in that hallway or somebody, or no, maybe it's Lex when they're in the prison, and when she gets ready to start dropping that language, they cut to how the humans perceive how the animals are
oh,
speaking, and it's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
squeaks.
yeah.
I think that was a much better use of trying that particular style of humor there than just straight up putting beeps in there.
I both of them made me laugh. Honestly, I
All right.
liked them both.
Fair enough.
There's something about Merton like being an old lady, and like when she's just like, "Oh, I can't see shit." Like, it's so funny. And there was even something at the end that was even like, obviously it was the F word that was bleeped, and it made me laugh really hard.
That's because you're a perpetual 12-year-old at
I
heart.
mean, sometimes it's the simple things, but yeah, Merton cracked me up. Oh, and I think it's one of the best jokes is after Krypto gets his powers back, right? Like, so Krypto ends up eating cheese with a bit of kryptonite in it, and I appreciate that too. So, they always put it in the cheese, and so for most of the movie, Crypto's without his powers. Then when he gets him back, he leaves the rest of the pets behind. He's like, thanks for all your help. I got to do this myself. Like, you guys have done enough. Right. And so he flies away, and Ace is like, can you believe that after all we've been through, he just ditches us? And the other pets are like, well, actually, I thought it was kind of sweet. Like, he's looking out for us. And when Merton goes, I'm kind of medium on it, to be honest. Like, that was so funny.
Her hitting on Garfield when the pig like expands out in the car and she's pressed up against the window next to the Garfield suction cup thingy.
Yeah.
Like, hey, handsome, how you doing, or something like that. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was good. I also appreciated, it was so random, but the ice and fire guinea pigs, Keith and Mark,
Yeah, they were all right.
they were pretty funny. I forgot about them, honestly, until I started watching it. And I was like, oh, yeah, these guys. It's Thomas Middleditch and Ben Schwartz, who I think are both great. They're used just enough, but I thought they were actually really funny. And I appreciated that in the end, they became the friends for Aquaman and Cyborg.
That was a nice touch because
Yeah.
I kept looking over. I'm like, the numbers don't match up here. Who's going to be you kind of figure Merton's going to wind up with Flash, PB's going to wind up with Wonder Woman. All that makes sense. But then, like the Squirrel, I kind of anticipated was going to wind up with Green Lantern just because there's precedence for
It's
these
Chip. Yeah.
the animals being involved in the Green Lantern Corps. In fact, Cruz makes the comment of like, yeah, when I was on OA, I was actually paired up with a raccoon, but he thought we were dating. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty funny also. But
Yeah.
so I didn't know how the math was going to work out there. So that was a nice touch getting those two, across the line, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. And I will say, I also just appreciated Lulu's army of superpowered guinea pigs.
Oh yeah. And the
Like,
part
that
where
was
the
so
Batmobile
fun.
comes crashing in, and great Batmobile, by the way,
Agreed.
and
Agreed.
Batman just gets like overwhelmed by all these guinea pigs. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. I
Well,
mean,
what
you
about
could,
when Batman makes his entrance and Lex Luthor says, no, I'll never have superpowers. And Batman pops in and he goes, they're overrated.
yes.
That was great.
Actually, that whole intro to the Justice League I thought was great.
Oh, I
That
agree. It was
that whole
awesome.
sequence and getting Lex's power suit involved, that was really well done in my opinion.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, and because I loved how we intro the Justice League and they all get their big name card and it's all cool and stylized, and then they mirror that in the finale, like when finally the pets all become super pets and they all get that sort of same intro at the end. It was cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry, we were talking about something else and I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh well.
We were
We
talking
find
about Merton and Garfield, and then we segued
Yeah,
into
yeah.
something else.
We finally also settled that the invisible jet, it's not invisible, it's more transparent.
Yes.
I like that too. I actually thought it was pretty funny. Um, and we have to real quick talk about the Ace's backstory, Ace's tragic
Oh,
backstory.
that's the one that almost broke me both times
Yeah.
because it's so sweet, it's so touching. This dog, everybody in the family showing so much love in every direction, and Ace saving her from falling down the steps, but he's got to bite her arm to keep that from happening. It's like you understand the perspective of the parents, but you just want to stick your head in the TV and yell, "No, that's not what happened,"
Yeah.
and you just can't. And the way Ace is going through this story and this history of it, and then getting to that point where he says, if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't change a thing. And that's what real love is. That was great moment. That was definitely the heart centerpiece of the film for me.
Yeah. It was very sweet. I will say it's taken right from the Pixar playbook. So it's worth calling that out. Like, this is something that Pixar's been doing for years. Is somewhere in the middle of the movie you get this heart wrenching little montage song, and so they just pulled that from this. So,
And it
um,
even kind of sounded like Randy Newman singing it. So I mean,
yeah,
they
um,
were not being subtle in that
they were
moment.
not, but I still think it was very effective. I think it was a very nice backstory for him. And you're right. What I really loved was he said it was the worst day of my life, but I wouldn't change a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really effective and surprisingly good. Yeah. So I agree. I really like that moment between the two of them. Um, and then the way they really pay it off at the end when he finally meets Batman, um, and they're both talking about their tragic backstories. I love that too. Batman is talking about his tragic backstory, and then Ace starts talking about his tragic backstory, and then they realize that they're kindred spirits. I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
And
And the
even the way
fact that,
the animation changed when that was happening, I thought that was really fun.
yeah, even at the end when those two are like standing next to each other, like all the other pets in Justice League are pairing up, and Batman and Ace are like sitting there looking at each other. And Batman's like, "I work alone, except for Alfred and Commissioner Gordon." And then he rattles off a couple more, and then it pans out into other action, and then it comes back, and he's like, "And Batgirl and Batwoman," and he's like still going with the list of all
Yeah.
these people. Robin. I thought that was pretty funny too.
Well, and then he ends it with, "And whoever Morgan Freeman played."
I mean, you could have thrown Lucius Fox's name in there, but I guess, yeah.
That was very Lego movie, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's where you can see the Lego movie influence on this is jokes like that, where you're like, oh, wow, I mean, it's still funny, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. But yeah, I like that. I liked when they finally teamed up. I thought it was really cute. But yeah, I think that Ace's backstory was very sweet, and again shows the unconditional love of a pet or just a best friend, and then that of course helps Krypto get over his own jealousy.
They talked about the solar paw punch, which that's your obviously this is going to end in the movie somehow. But I don't know why I found it as funny as I did. But when he tells him it sounds like a juice box,
Yes,
I thought that
yeah,
was pretty funny.
yeah. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. We are talking about the guinea pig army, and I love like how many there were. And first, I love the moment where Lulu liberates them all from the classroom. That made me laugh, especially when they're like, "No, we're fine. Like we get our summers off. We get all you can drink water." Like I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, like there's so many of them, and I think that they had so much fun giving them all different superpowers. And as we were watching it, Esri goes, "What's the rainbow one's power?" And I was like, "Oh God, I don't know." Like, and then they actually have the moment where the rainbow one just uses their rainbow power and it doesn't really do anything other than make a rainbow. And Esri lost it. She's like, "He has a rainbow power." It was pretty funny. But I loved them as like, the army of supervillains is just the army of evil guinea pigs. And Lulu taking great offense whenever anyone calls her anything but a guinea pig.
Yes, yes, and the little the snarky back and forth, even though they don't really understand each other between her and Mercy, I thought was pretty well done.
Yes, yes.
And then the two of them teaming up at the end, I thought was also a nice touch.
Yeah, I love that Mercy was in this, and then I love that at a certain point she just pieces out. She's like, I don't need any of
I
this.
don't
And
get paid
then
enough for this. Yeah.
right. And then yes, at the end her being the one to rescue Lulu and they team up. I thought that was nice.
From the hot dog water. Ew, gross.
So gross.
And she's laying in the hot dog water. Lex is trapped in this goofy plot that he has, and he's like, "I always knew it would end this way." And then it immediately cuts to Lulu like backstroking in the hot dog water, saying, "I always knew it would end this way." I thought that was pretty funny too. And when Lulu captured the Justice League and she's got them all contained, a couple of them were just, pretty standard, but like Flash having the hamster wheel and Aquaman being in the tank, and they're like dropping fish food in there, and he's like, "Ooh, fish food."
I know that. It was a bit of a cheap shot at Aquaman, but it still made me laugh. So,
Well, it wasn't as cheap of a shot as they took at him in Peacemaker, but still.
Yeah, that's true. But it still made me laugh.
I'll tell you another thing I found to be one of the funniest things in the whole film is Dog L, who is voiced by, I believe it's Keith David. Is that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I never remember if it's Keith David or David Keith, but
I know.
I love that.
I know.
His voice is great, but always showing up and said, "I am Dog L," and Krypto always having to do we need a skip intro thing. And then it gets to the end where it's like cycling through the stuff, and he's like, "Don't eat chocolate. the dog in the mirror is you. Fireworks suck. Like all of that stuff had me cracking up with that.
Oh, and he's licking himself at a certain
Yes,
point. Yeah,
yes,
yeah. Yeah, I appreciated the Jarrell Dog-L thing. And like you said, like a really fun cameo by Keith David.
yeah.
Like even the small parts in this have like, I mean, Alfred Molina is Jarrell, right? Yvette Nicole Brown is Patty, who I think is the woman who works at the animal shelter.
That sounds right.
And she has what, like 2 or 3 lines, but it's her. Yeah, it's really fun. What I did not realize, so Olivia Wilde is Lois Lane in this. I appreciated the joke that was in the trailer about Krypto imagining throwing Lois into the harbor. It made me laugh. But I guess Olivia Wilde screen tested for Lois for Man of Steel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which makes sense when you think about it. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun.
She'd be a pretty good Lois, I think.
I think so too. I think she would have been great. Not that
If we
we
got
don't
to
love
move on from Amy Adams, I'd take her and replace
exactly. Not that we don't love Amy Adams, because we do. But yeah, so I thought that was kind of fun too. There was something else I was just thinking of. Darn it. Oh well, it'll come back to me eventually.
It's always happens. You hang up, and 5 minutes after you hang up, it's like, oh, I forgot to talk about this.
Yeah, it was something along those lines, right? About Lois Lane, but oh well, doesn't matter.
There was something else I was going to talk about the Boys Cast. Let me scan through and see if I can jog my memory with it real quick. Dan Fogler was in there, which I really like him.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was. It says Carl, pilot, and racer.
Oh, so wow, I love Dan Fogler.
Duties. Yeah.
I mean, again, just overall, like every amazing voice cast, and honestly, because like I remember the final trailer, they had that long list of actors to the point where I almost didn't even remember most of them. I mean, I obviously remembered Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart, but like I was like, there were so many that they kind of got lost in the shuffle. So as I was watching the movie the first time, and Lulu, who I was very entertained by, I was like, who the hell's doing Lulu? And I didn't realize till the end credits that it was Kate McKinnon. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot she was in this. But it makes sense.
Jamila was Titania in She-Hulk. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You watched She-Hulk yet?
No, not yet.
Oh, it's good, dude. I know I'm not apparently in the majority opinion there, but I love that show.
Daveed Diggs was Cyborg.
Not familiar with that name.
He's Jefferson from Hamilton.
I still haven't seen Hamilton.
That's all right. All right. Well, anyway, lots of people is the point. And I think it pays off. It's surprisingly good. So I mentioned earlier about the box office. It's worth mentioning. If you remember, it opened at number 1, but like with a very meh $23 million, which was like, it's fine, I guess. Right. But what I thought was very cool is that throughout the summer, it quadrupled its opening weekend. So it had really good legs, which was a good thing. Like it actually the final gross ended up not bad. So it made just over $200 million worldwide, which is solid. The only problem is it cost $90 million. So I think that's what really hurt it, because otherwise that's a pretty solid box office for this movie. It's just a shame it cost so much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by the time you get done with home video and everything else, I'm sure it's in the black, but the question becomes, is it in the black enough where it's worth them taking another shot?
Right. But I mean, the good news is, I mean, people liked it. Like it's well received on IMDb. The user rating is 7.3 out of 10, which is pretty strong.
For an animated feature that doesn't carry, the Disney or Pixar name behind it, I'd say that's excellent, in fact.
Yeah, I agree. Like that was higher than I was expecting, because it is a surprisingly good animated movie. Anyway, I'm sure there are other things we can call out, but let's give some closing thoughts and where you'd put a letter grade for DC League of Super Pets.
It's an absolutely painless watch. In fact, it's actually an enjoyable watch. I have very little to gripe about that would give me any pause about watching it again or owning it. I mean, again, you and I are old timey cheapskates, so $10 and it's going to be in my collection. It's well done. It's funny. It's plenty of heart. If you're an animal lover, it's certainly going to appeal to you on that front. If you're a DC lover, it'll certainly appeal to you on that front. If you're both, then they made a movie for you. Good news. I'd love to see more. Whether or not we do, I don't know. But this was a really, really good time. You know, if my kids were a little younger than they were, I think this would be on constant repeat in my house. Because, you know, when a few years back, my kids were, you know, all kinds of into the superhero thing. And now they're just, you know, my son's evolved into warplanes and tanks and video games. And my daughters have just become 17-year-old girls. So, you know, they're too cool for everything now. But, you know, if this would have hit when my son was like 8 or 9 and my daughters were like 11 or 12, I think this thing would have been on in my house 2 or 3 times a day. It's just that kind of a movie. So if you've got those kids in that bracket, I really think this is something that you can get down and share with them, and everybody's going to walk away satisfied. Letter grade, I think I'm at a solid B+ with this one.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it was a very nice surprise, and I have to agree with almost everything you said. It's really fun to watch. Like I said, painless almost feels like like
it feels dismissive a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not meant to be, because it's really fun. It's really cute. It's entertaining. It's surprisingly funny. And if you're a DC fan, then that makes it even better. So I really love that. Oh, that I just remembered something else, and I wish I could remember the exact line, but just real quick, there was the Fire and Ice guinea pigs. There was a moment where they walked in and they were talking to Lulu, and they were like, "How's it going, Queen? That's right, Diva." Like, it was something like that really made me laugh. Anyway, so
like, what's the dish, Queen, or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. And I wish I'd have written it down, but it just made me laugh. But anyway, so yeah, I look forward to the day when Harley is old enough to actually watch this. Right now, she doesn't give a crap, but that's okay. We're glad
she's only into Halloween.
It's true. It's true. But yeah, it's really fun. It's really cute. It's easy to watch. It's funny, and the fact that it's DC makes it even better. So it's something I will happily revisit. I will buy once it gets to $9.99 or below. But yeah, like a very nice surprise for a movie that, you know, when announced, everyone kind of went, huh? The fact that it turned out as well as it did, and it's pretty darn good. I think it's one of the better animated movies of this year. That's great to see. And I'm glad that it seems like it has found its audience one way or the other, either through the long waits at the box office or through HBO Max. And people do seem to like it. Recently on Michael's podcast From Pencils to Pixels, they talked about this, and Michael Lyons said this was the nicest surprise he's had all year because of how much he enjoyed it. So, I mean, come on, Michael Lyons wouldn't lie.
If you need a better endorsement than that, I don't know what to tell you.
So yeah, DC League of Super Pets. It's a really good time, and yeah, I think I'm with you. I think I'm at a B+. That's fair.
Deserving of that grade, I believe.
Yeah. So it is there on HBO Max for all our friends at home. Put it on.
Oh, I know what we forgot to talk about.
Okay.
How eerily similar the post-credit scene is for this and Black Adam.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I
wonder if there was a little foreshadowing happening there, perhaps.
Yeah. I when I saw this in the theater in July, and we get Black Adam and his pet,
which the Black Adam's dog had to have been voiced by Dwayne Johnson too.
It was. Okay. Yep, he did it all. Yeah, I was like, oh, all right, already teeing up some Black Adam. But I also appreciated the back and forth between Krypto and Anubis, is what they called Black Adam's dog, about what an anti-hero is and how is that really different from a villain. And that was pretty great, because at least The Rock, that shows that The Rock is aware of that debate. It made me laugh.
Yeah. And real quick shout out, Squeaky Bruce and Chuperman, also pretty funny.
Yes. Especially at the end when he said Superman, and he's like, that's disrespectful. He goes, you guys started it.
Yep.
So yeah. You're right. So that post-credit scene, Black Adam and Anubis. Black Adam and Superman, it seems, were always meant to meet. So anyway, 2 B+ for DC League of Super Pets, and I hope you guys out there enjoyed it as well. It is it's super cute and it's super fun. But it is time to not say goodbye just yet, because we have to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It is time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all my Mr. Wayne.
All right, today's Wayne Manor Mailbox is brought to you by True Classic. Guys, so you're looking for t-shirts out there? You're looking for t-shirts that make you look good? Check out trueclassic.com. Finding the perfect fitting shirt can be terrible. It can be too tight or it can be too big and boxy, tight in the wrong spots, but True Classic wants you to look good and feel good. It's tighter in the chest and sleeves, but there's room in the torso to keep things cozy. So all their styles are super soft and at a great price for what you're getting. So no excuses. Get rid of those ratty t-shirts that you've been hanging on for years and get ready to upgrade. We give you the best deal. If you're listening to this, you get 25% off with the promo code BatCast at trueclassic.com. So go to trueclassic.com, do a little shopping. Much like with our other sponsors, if you're going to make a purchase, great, treat yourself. That's fine. I support you. A little self-care, but save the money and support Holy BatCast in the process. Use the promo code BatCast for 25% off. And if you end up buying and spending more than $100, you do get free shipping. So go to trueclassic.com, do a little shopping, get yourself out there. Every size, but they are soft, they're stylish, they're going to make you look good. And if you make that purchase, please get 25% off with BatCast at trueclassic.com. So big thank you to True Classic for sponsoring today's episode. Now let's check in on you folks. First message here is from Jeff. It says, hey guys at Holy BatCast. I wanted to say I've been listening to you for going on 8 years and I absolutely love it. I'm a lifelong Batman fan and at this point I feel like you guys are old friends. I listen every day and I've heard several episodes many times. Brendan, it's great to hear your love for both Batman and James Bond as I am also a devoted fan of both. Your podcast is great, and I've tuned in whenever I need a Bond fix. Jamie, you're the VIP, baby. I love your comments, and always make sure to tune in every time you're on the show. And Andy, you're the man that started it all, so I want to send out a great thank you ever for your nerdy fanboy tropes. I don't know what that means. Kind of sounds like a backhanded compliment, but okay. I recently got married in June, and I've gotten my wife sucked into the Real Fans for Real Movies shows. I love listening to the movie reviews. I'm still waiting to hear what you thought of Halloween Ends. My son just had his 9th birthday and wanted to celebrate with a DC-themed party, which makes me incredibly happy. You guys are great. Again, I love the show. Keep producing those commentaries as they're some of my favorites. Hope to hear back. Tell all your friends about me. Michael Keaton, my favorite Batman, Jeff from Gainesville. All right. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the nice message. Glad that you enjoyed the show for 8 years now.
It doesn't seem like we've been doing it that long, but we have.
Yeah, we really have. It's crazy, but appreciate that and glad that you guys have also checked out some of the Real Fans shows. One of these days we'll probably talk about Halloween Ends. Episode,
I get the feeling that if we get around to doing the best and worst of episode of Real Fans this year, it's going to come up on both.
That's very possible. Thanks for listening to that as well. And honestly, we did want to do that episode. It was just trying to get scheduling in October. It just wasn't going to happen.
October was in freaking insane. So.
Yeah, it'll get you every time. So,
I mean, it was so bad. I think I only clocked 137 movies on Scarathon this year. That's how bad.
Oh, geez, come on.
I hit 200 last year. So
wow. I hit 70 and I was proud. I was like, that's the best I think I've ever done. And I think that's just because I was home more with Harley.
Well, when Scarathon started, the idea was to get 31 scary movies in 31 days, October 1st to 31st. And I realized I watched way more than 31 scary movies, so it just needed to grow.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, next message is from Chris, the Objective Geek. Oh, a quick question. Oh, I love that. It says, would you rather see Justice League versus the Legion of Doom in a movie or Justice League versus the Suicide Squad?
Legion of Doom. Not even close.
Same. I mean, these days there seems to be a bit of a overlap anyway, but yes, I'm with you.
Don't get me wrong. I would watch Justice League versus Suicide Squad and hopefully have a great time with it. I'd welcome it. But Legion of Doom, I'm telling you, nobody has taken that approach in a comic book movie yet. And DC needs to, hopefully James Gunn hears me say this, Saffron too, wake up and get this handled, because be first to that game and you're going to have something really special on your hands.
Yeah, I agree with you. Same. Go big or go home. Legion of Doom's where it's at. Oh, apparently, according to IMDb, in Super Pets, when Lex is like, he's on his console and he's, typing stuff in, apparently the console looks like the lair of the Legion of Doom upside down.
Oh, I missed that.
I know, so did I. So I need to check again, but that's cool if it's true.
And that's another mandate I have for that Legion of Doom film. I want that dome to come up out of the swamp because it's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Next message is from Todd. It says, "Hey, Andy, I'm a big fan of the podcast. I just watched the new DC animated movie, Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. Have you seen it? I liked it a lot. Tell me your thoughts about it, or if you're going to review it." From Todd. Todd, yes, we will eventually review it. I have still not watched it yet. I will. It's on the to-do list. And once I do, I'm sure that we will get around to it on the show. But as we said, like a lot of times with those animated movies, it usually takes a month or two for us to do it. Usually whenever they hit HBO Max is when we get around to it. But we still got to do Green Lantern.
I'm way too much of a tightwad to spend 15 or 20 bucks buying those movies now.
Yeah. And we still got to do Green Lantern.
Which just dropped last week, by the way.
Yeah. So we got some
Catwoman Hunted, I think, is in there too.
Yeah, we still need to do that too. So we will get around to it. I think I've heard good things about Super Sons so far. I'm trying to remember of the things I've seen. Most of it's been positive, so that's good to hear.
I've heard anything from pretty good to really good.
Okay, that's great. I'll take it. Okay, next message is from Marcio. It says, "Hey, Bat people, I finally caught up on the podcast after Black Adam over the weekend, and I've got a few thoughts. Number one, I love the reveal of Black Adam's origin, but I did know it was coming because of the trailers. I'm glad that Andy felt the same way. When will trailer makers learn? I also thought the Teth Adams' son as the champion looked like the original comic book when first transformed, which was a nice nod. Small nitpick, I thought Dr. Fate removed his helmet too much, but I guess you don't get Pierce Brosnan and not see him as much as you can."
I fully agree with that one, actually.
Yeah, I get that, but I also expect that. That's just the way superhero movies are. Do you think that Hawkman is a reincarnated version or the alien version? Did they mention it? This Black Adam is definitely a hero. He kills bad guys, but so do a lot of other heroes, right? The case for a no-kill hero isn't as strong. It'll be interesting to see what is the reason they can come up for Black Adam to fight Shazam or Superman. If Shazam and Black Adam are magic and Superman is vulnerable to magic, in theory, both are stronger than Superman, right? And then I'm glad Henry Cavill is back, but I also noticed it may have been a bigger deal for us fans than what it appears in the general public who don't follow DC news and rumors. Does that make sense? There hasn't been another Superman since Cavill, so him coming back is received like back. He never left. I feel a lot of people would notice Ben Affleck doing a new movie after we've already seen Robert Pattinson. I better leave it there. Thanks for your hard work. Love the show, Marcio. Thanks, Marcio. All right. So questions. When will trailer makers learn? Never.
Ever.
Also, though, it's a weird thing where it does feel like most of the time, the filmmakers do not get a say in how the trailers are cut. That's not always true, but I know I have heard that in the past. So I feel like this may be one of those cases where the trailer, the studio hires the trailer makers, they cut what they did, that was approved, but not the filmmaker doesn't always get approval over the trailers.
I'm a big fan of under promise and over deliver. So the less you show me in a trailer, I mean, I'm to the point now where if you just want to show me like a superhero logo and say coming on this date, I'm content with that as the trailer. I'm half scared to watch trailers anymore because of exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, back to Super Pets, I do feel like there was a lot that was not in the trailers. I feel like the Super Pets trailers were like kind of because they didn't show much, which is kind of surprising that they held back as much as they did.
Good on them for it, as far as I'm concerned. But.
Yeah. Do you think Hawkman is the reincarnated version or the alien version? I mean, to answer, they did not mention it, so it could end up being either, depending on how they follow it up.
I feel like the Hawkman thing, like, I don't know if we talked about, I don't remember if you guys talked about it, and I don't think I did. They kept having this thing about Fate's premonition about Hawkman dying, and I'm like, well, obviously the door is open here where he can just reincarnate or resurrect at that point. So
yeah.
I figured that was the direction they were going to lean, and that's not what we got. So I was kind of surprised by that, honestly.
No, I agree. I always assumed it was the reincarnated version because it seems like that is the current modern version that you'll see more often than not. And so same, like if he did not make it out of Black Adam, I just assumed, oh, well, he'll be reincarnated.
They could have done it at the end where he was in the coffin and everybody's standing around and they walk away and just some feathers start to levitate off the coffin and then credits.
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect.
Right after Dr. Fate is wearing his new engagement ring. So Shazam, Black Adam, because they're magic, does that make them in theory stronger than Superman? Well, not necessarily. It just means that they actually have an effective way to battle Superman, but I wouldn't necessarily
makes them certainly more formidable than many other people of the non-Kryptonian heritage.
Exactly. So, but I wouldn't say that automatically makes them stronger. It just means that they have more of an edge than most people against Superman.
Well, I mean, hopefully we get to see it sooner than later, but I mean, this means Superman's going to have to use his brain instead of his biceps to fix this problem. So I'm very curious to see how it plays out.
Right. Well, I mean, it's kind of like, Green Lantern is vulnerable to yellow. Sinestro uses yellow power. That doesn't necessarily make Sinestro more powerful than Green Lantern. It just means they're more evenly matched.
Yeah.
And then as for Henry Cavill being back, I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of news about it being a big deal. So it's hard to tell because I am surrounded by so many geeks who have been excited about it. But I feel like it's been pretty big news, especially with him leaving The Witcher.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this much. I work with this guy. I think he's probably about 31 or 32 years old. So he's a little younger than us. But he's not a comic book guy, but he watches the Marvel films, he watches the DC films, he digs what he sees there. Because the conversation started because he was talking about wanting to see Black Adam this weekend. I'm like, it's good, it's entertaining, I think you'll like it. And the conversation evolved, and I'm like, how much do you know about the movie? He's like, well, I know apparently Superman is there at the end. And we got into that discussion. He's like, I'm really glad that they re-signed that dude because I think he's a great Superman and I want to see more from him. And that made me feel really good knowing that somebody who's not deep rooted in the geek community had that reaction. And maybe he's not a majority or anything like that, but it warmed my heart knowing that somebody had that feeling and I'm not trying to be dismissive of his fandom or anything, but being more of a casual type fan of this stuff. Mm-hmm. It felt good hearing him say that.
No, and I do think that, I mean, it's been 5 years since we've seen Henry Cavill as Superman. So I think even non-nerds, have noticed that it's been 5 years, like it's since Justice League was in theaters. So yeah, I think enough people notice for sure.
Of course, he also told me he thought Riddler made the last Batman movie as great as it was, and I was like, all right, cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, next message is from Richard Webster. It says, hey guys, I'm a huge fan of the podcast. I've been listening for years, and even if I don't agree with all of your thoughts, I do love listening to your discussions, which are always honest and respectful. I was wondering if any of you decorated your house for Halloween with a Batman theme, or have you ever done that in the past? What was your design, or what would you do if you had the time and the funds? This was my first Halloween my wife and I shared in our new home, so I went a little overboard. To quote Batman, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. I'm in love with the Affleck version of Batman, and the whole look is badass, so I had to have it, had to be it. So I found a very expensive screen-accurate version of the BVS suit as close to the movies as I could find, and I broke multiple piggy banks to get it. It was totally worth it. I set up a kid and adult Batman paradise for trick-or-treating, and the reactions I got were priceless. Kids either ran up to me screaming, it's Batman, or they ran away in terror crying. But I know that they'll all remember Halloween 2022.
The ones that ran away were criminals, so be careful.
Lastly, a big delayed congratulations to Andy on the birth of your first child, Harley. My son was born on October 9th, and we named him Logan Clark, or his real name, Wolverine Superman. Sorry that my first email to the show was so short. I promise to make them longer in the future. Just kidding. Thanks for the great content. Keep the bat signal lit. P.S. I'm including pictures of my Halloween display and video. I also posted them on my Instagram under my Batman account, Bat of Manchester, for all to see. All right, so folks who want to see this, go to Bat of Manchester on Instagram. Well, I will say little Logan Clark is adorable. Got him dressed up in his little Batman overalls.
Does he already have the pork chop sideburn things happening?
Not yet. I think it's
Okay.
going to take time. Richard, you look great in the Batflex suit. Very cool. There's a picture of him holding his son, and very cool display. So, to answer your question, did I go crazy celebrating and decorating for Halloween? I did. But was it Batman themed? It was not. It was just traditional Halloween. It was a cemetery and Michael Myers and a witch and, ghosts and spiders and, it's standard. But we did go crazy. I do think in our neighborhood, we were number one. I do think that on Halloween, as people, trick-or-treaters came, there was a lot of nice comments about, oh, you guys had the best house all year. There was one lady, it was amazing. She said, thank you for making our Halloween so special, because she said that they love driving by our house every night.
Excellent.
And there were these kids who went, we knew this house would have the best candy because this is the Halloween house. And it was awesome. So no, I've never considered doing a Batman decor for Halloween. I have considered doing Batman for Christmas, of doing essentially like a wintertime Gotham City for Christmas, but I've not done it yet. One of these days.
We had a lot of bats involved with our decorations, but no Batman. We had no DC-centric decor happening at all, either for Halloween, and we won't for Christmas either, because we're just not. My wife is very traditional about Christmas decor. She won't even let the inflatable things be out for that. It's all lights and ornaments and things like that.
Yeah.
But if I could do a Batman thing for Halloween, I would like a great big mural, because my dining room window is a very big kind of picture window that faces the front of the house. I would love to have some kind of a thing hanging there that's like the depiction of the DC villains in that splash page from Long Halloween. I think that would look awesome there.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess if we're talking a blank check, I think I'd make my house Arkham Asylum and like have the villains like in the yard, right? Like have like a Joker and a Harley and a Scarecrow and stuff, and like make it really spooky and light it really crazy. And yeah, I think I would do something like that for Halloween. And again, for Christmas, I've always thought it would be cool to do essentially Gotham in the snow, with Batman and Robin and everything. But
Snow might be a tough trick in Florida, dude.
I mean, it'd have to be fake, but you could. So anyway, Richard, this is very cool. Thank you for sharing. And again, for anybody who wants to look, go check out Bat of Manchester on Instagram. All right, next email is from Austin. It says, hey guys, a few quick thoughts I wanted to share. For the newly redirected Green Lantern project, do you think that DC is missing an opportunity not focusing on Hal? With all the love the Top Gun 2 received, seeing that Hal's secret identity is a fighter pilot, DC could tip a toe in that world. Secondly, I know with Henry coming back as Superman, it seems like the only member of the Justice League we're missing is Batman. I really enjoyed Ben's take on the character, but for longevity's sake, I don't know if I'd want him back. Is Ben's schedule and age an issue that DC should ignore, or should we try to find someone who's a bit younger and has more availability? Looking forward to hearing your thoughts, Austin. Thanks, Austin. So first question, do you think by not focusing on Hal Jordan, they're missing an opportunity because of Top Gun Maverick?
I mean, that's a valid point, and one that I think would probably help garner some attention for it. But I mean, for me, the missed opportunity is just not doing Hal, because he's my favorite Green Lantern.
Mm.
But I don't mind the other Green Lanterns too. So I'm pretty much good either way. I'd prefer Hal, but if they're going to go, more John centric, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I don't, like we talked about in the last episode, I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it can still be a Jon Stewart show, and Hal can pop in, and be a mentor or have guest spots. And the same thing with all the Green Lanterns. I don't want to do John only and then not acknowledge the rest of the Green Lanterns. So I think you can have your cake and eat it too. But I do think it still makes sense to focus on Jon Stewart. But yeah, so I mean, I still feel good about that.
Kilowog is a must, though.
Oh, obviously, you got to. And then what do you think about Ben? Do you think you try to get him back, or find someone younger with more availability?
Ask me that question after I've seen the alleged Flash movie, because I just don't know at this point. Would I love to have Ben back and kind of continue down that road? Absolutely. But I don't see it happening. But, I've said a lot of that kind of thing lately and been wrong about it with Zack Snyder's Justice League, with Henry Cavill returning. So the hell do I know? I'm good if he comes back. Absolutely. I'd prefer it if he came back. But I mean, at this point, if you want to replace him, and I've said this before, you replace him with somebody like John Hamm that has enough of the physical kind of attributes that looks similar to Ben. I would be okay with that. If you want to go younger, as long as you've got a good reason for having done that, being a timeline reset or whatever, I guess I'm okay with that. But I'll have to see it play out to really know how I feel about it.
Yeah. If I'm in charge and Ben wanted to do it, I say, yes, you bring him back. Because yes, he's getting older, but he still looks amazing. And you could still get another 10 years out of his Batman if you wanted to, and if he wanted to do it. So I still think that would be ideal.
I mean, Henry's over 40 now, isn't he?
Yeah. He would still be an older Batman, but that's okay. But for continuity's sake and because of how much I love his Batman, yeah, I think that if he wanted to do it, you could still do it, and he could still do it for 10 more years. I think he'd be fine. Because let's be honest, he's not doing any of the action himself anyway. So as long as he's willing to show up and do the non-action moments, you could still do it, and he'd still be an elder statesman Batman.
Yeah, something tells me Richard would be on board with that too. I'm just guessing.
See, I think you still could do it. I don't think he wants to. Again, I could be wrong, much like Jamie just said. We have been wrong in the past, so maybe he would want to come back, but I get the impression he doesn't for full time. And in that case, I do think that, so you have a Batman in the shared continuity, I do think you recast. The fact that we have almost everyone back, you still have to figure out what to do with Ezra. You'd have to, do some work to get Ray Fisher back. So I guess not everything is all smooth sailing, but you're closer than you were.
I have the feeling if they wanted to go that route, Gunn and Saffron could have some conversations and probably get everybody on board. At least that's my optimistic outlook of it.
I think so too. I think that's certainly possible. But if Batman's the only missing piece, I do think that recasting is better than no Batman.
The character's bigger than the one actor.
Right.
So definitely.
All right. One last email here from Oriel. It says, Dear Andy, Jamie, and Brendan, on Thursday the 3rd, I finally saw Black Adam. Let me explain how difficult it is for me to see a movie in the format that I like and enjoy the most. Since 2005, 2006, I decided to watch all or most movies in their original language with or without subtitles. It's because when they dub the movie, there's a piece of acting that is lost. Taking this into consideration, days in advance, I started to check where I could watch the movie. The only option where I live, Girona, was on Thursday. It's not late for Spain. There's also a 10 p.m. Okay, so you're in Spain. Got it. I spoke to my wife to see if she wanted to come. She said no. I also wanted to make sure it was okay for her to stay with our 2-year-old while I went to see the movie. On Thursday, a couple hours before the movie, I got a call. The person on the other end told me that the 9 p.m. will be in Spanish and not English with subtitles because of some technical issues with the copy they received. I felt sad because I do not go so often to the movies and I like the experience to be full. I resigned and went alone even though it was going to be in Spanish. The theater had a capacity of over 285 people, but less than 10 people were in the theater. Half of them didn't know about Black Adam or DC. So I feel envy when you talk on the show that your cinema was full and that people at least know DC. Yesterday at the theater, I felt like I was watching the movie alone at home, but in a big format. That's why I think the 45-day deal to streaming is the future/present. Theaters empty and not so many options in language subtitles make it really appealing for me and for others. Question, what do you think about dubbed movies? Have you seen many or do you prefer subtitles? How is it in the US, Australia when you watch a movie in the original version or language? Do you often go to the movies alone? About the movie, it was a good, entertaining 2-hour film. I don't understand the Rotten Tomatoes, but I also don't agree with the viewer rating of 90%. I normally don't like Dwayne Johnson, but I think he played the role well. The whole cast was really good, and I loved how colorful Cyclone was. I would have liked to see more Dr. Fate in a sequel or a prequel, but I also liked the fast pace of the movie. Some of the action scenes were a bit overcharged. For being picky, I didn't like in the third act when they put Black Adam in a cage to imprison him, and it just lasts 5 minutes. Perhaps they could have gone another way. As for Henry Cavill's cameo, it was so brief, but it is exciting. My feelings were quite positive about the movie. This is quite new for me because generally watching a DC movie, I get out of the cinema disappointed because I think I spoil myself on trailers. But this time I didn't, and I think it worked out great. Watching the box office, I'm quite skeptical about the movie making more than 600 million, but I hope that will not mean some consequences for the DCEU. Sorry for the long message. Thanks for the entertaining show, and keep up the good work, Oriole. Thanks, Oriole. And all right. Wow. Well, first of all, I'm glad you got to see the movie, but I'm sorry it wasn't in the original language the way you would have preferred. So hopefully when it gets home, you'll get to watch it again and you'll prefer it that way. But I guess the first question is, what do you think about, Jamie, about dubbed versus subtitles? How do you prefer to watch a movie in a different language?
Well, that's something that I've really reversed my stance on, because in my younger years, I'm not a particularly fast reader. So if I'm sitting, especially like in a theater environment, and something gets by me dialogue wise, I can't pause it, rewind it, that sort of a thing. So I always lean much more toward dub, but he makes a very valid point. When you dub, they try so hard to change the dialogue to match the lip movement so it seems more natural. So obviously there's a lot of major changes that go on with that, and you do lose something in a performance with it. So in my old age, I definitely prefer subtitles, especially at home, because I can pause and rewind if there's something that I wasn't fast enough to catch.
Yeah. I agree. I actually prefer subtitles myself. Just because I do feel like the dubbing is somehow more distracting, because like you lose something in the acting, the dialogue isn't quite spot on. And so I generally prefer subtitles if something is not going to be, something is in a different language. So I agree with you there. Do you often go to the movies alone? Yeah. I love going to the movies alone. Yeah, I love going to the movies alone. I got so used to it over the years that it's almost preferred. Almost, I still like going to the movies with Catherine. We have a great time, but yeah, like I've never been bothered by going to the movies alone. And then the question about the box office. Yes, I don't think it's going to make 600 million. That does seem like it's off the table, but it's having a strong third weekend. And it does seem like kind of, I think, like we discussed when we talked about box office with Aaron, about like, it seems like it's sort of being graded on a curve, I think, because of Black Adam, because of just the nature of theaters right now. So I honestly think that after all is said and done, even if it tops out at 400, 450, my hunch is that will be good enough to be considered a success, because it's certainly not a flop, which is, I think, what it comes down to. As of this conversation right now, it's at 262 worldwide. But that's before the weekend numbers have come in. So it's doing fine. It's doing pretty well. It's certainly not a flop, but yeah, I do think that 600 is probably off the table.
And I feel like people are still going. Like the guy I work with said he was going to try and get out this weekend. I didn't see it till the second weekend. November is going to see some people having some time off of work for Thanksgiving holiday and whatnot. So it might have a little bit of a jump there, at least domestically. So I don't think it's dead in the water yet by any means, but
no, it's not. And as it's been going, like, honestly, it looks like it's sort of following almost exactly what Hobbs and Shaw did, at least domestically. So that's good. That was considered a success. I do think that, worldwide is still a question mark. And I also think a big part is it has not gotten a China release, and we don't know if it will get a China release, which is always, you could always knock off 150 million just because of China.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the bottom line is it's doing well enough to be fine. But yeah, it's certainly not going to be a blowout. billion-dollar smash. But I also like, I've seen people spinning it both ways, and I'm trying to be as realistic about it, which is the box office is fine. It's good enough. But people calling it a failure, I just have to go back and go, guys, it's a Black Adam movie. Like, you can only expect so much from a Black Adam movie. But it's certainly not a blowout success either. I feel like the box office is okay.
And at this point, the Rock's desires or ego aside, do we really need another Black Adam solo movie? Or can we put him in Shazam 3? Can we have a 3-way throwdown between Shazam, Superman, and Black Adam? I think these are all formulas for success for that character going forward without necessarily having to sink another 150 or 200 million and just having Black Adam by himself, if you will.
Yeah. So anyway, thought that was worth mentioning too, but that's it. We're closing the Wayne Manor mailbox, Jamie.
All right, then.
All caught up. Guys, if you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. It is worth noting that the next episode that is coming out, they will not have the mailbox because I'm going to record it early and then release it later again to try and cover that gap when I'm going to be out of town, because I'm going to be out of town for Thanksgiving for like 2.5 weeks. And it's because it's like this big family thing. You guys don't care. It doesn't matter. But the point is I'm trying to record one early this week so I have at least something to release while I'm gone. And so there's probably not going to be a mailbox. So send your mail, but it's probably going to be a few weeks before we get a chance to answer it. You guys got some time. That's where we're going to wrap up this episode, Jamie. Always a pleasure. It's just not Sunday morning unless I'm sipping coffee and talking DC with you.
It does feel like kind of a habitual thing now.
It's our time. This is our time down here.
It is. Yeah.
Even if Harley tried to ruin it for us.
She did. She went out of her way to screw this up. Freaking kids, man.
I'm telling you.
She's so cute. I'm going to let her get away with it.
I know. I mean, I sent you the picture of what I saw when I walked into her room this morning when she should have been sleeping.
Yeah. It kind of melts you. You can't be angry at that.
I can't help it because she was just so happy.
God, she's adorable.
She's so cute. And hopefully you'll get to see her in a week or so.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty well. God, it is that close, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's about 2 weeks from today, I think.
About 2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks.
Cool.
Anyway, thanks for making the time. Tell our friends where they can find you.
I am periodically on Twitter giving my almost acidic opinions about things that everybody hates that I like at BatRaider3960. I am generally floating around Real Fans Group. We're kicking off Thanksviewing right now. So, I had 137, I think it was, for Scarathon for Thanksviewing. I'm probably going to have 7. So
yeah.
I don't have the log for Thanksgiving viewing that I do for scary stuff. But if you want to follow along with that, it's in there. Letterboxd, I'm trying to stay active in there the best I can. You can find me there under my name at Jamie Drewley and on this fine podcast.
All right. I already told you guys where to follow me, but thank you as always for joining us on the show. Thanks for listening, downloading, subscribing, all that good stuff. Please do subscribe or follow the show wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you love the show, something else you can do to support us that is free. It doesn't cost a penny. All it costs is a minute of your day. Just go rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or on Stitcher or Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We'd appreciate that. It's super easy and it does help us out. So please rate and review us if you like the show. You can always go to holybatcast.com and again, find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email again is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by the talented Gaurav Venkateswar. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsors. Go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code BATSCAPED, or go to trueclassic.com and get 25% off with the promo code BATCAST. That'll do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
So, you are a dog. I am the Batman. I'm not really great with animals.
Yeah, I'm not really great with people. Probably because of my traumatic puppyhood.
As a child, my family was taken from me.
As a puppy, I was taken from my family.
So I'd steel myself.
My emotions always in check.
No one ever getting past my impenetrable defenses.
Ah, what the heck?
Supposed to be sunny and upper 60s today. It's supposed to dip down tomorrow, and then it's going to hit like low 70s for 2 days. And then I think legitimate Midwest fall is coming right after that. So,
I hope it gets there in time for me to arrive next week, because I want some real Midwest fall.
Well, you can take it with you when you go. I've had enough of it already.
No, I'm leaving it behind. It's all yours.
It's real easy to say how much you love snow and cool weather and all that shit when you're not stuck in it.
Yeah, when I get to leave. It's great. I go up, I get a taste, and I'm like, and that was nice, and now I'm gone.
It's just like me. I can't wait to see your baby and hold her and play with her and all that other stuff. But, after a little bit, I'm going to be like, here, take this. I'm done.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's different when you're stuck with that baby on your hip,
I know. And she's a wild woman right now, so.
Right on.
She takes a lot of watching.
I'll bet.